Hurricane Sally, Mustang Sally. How did I not even? There was so much other stuff going on. I didn't even really see this. But thank you for bringing it to my attention. Hurricane Sally flooding begins as Mississippi, Alabama, Florida prepare for the worst. With Hurricane Sally slowed to a crawl, hundreds of thousands hunkered down Tuesday in Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida, waiting. How did I not even see this happening? Did this come up overnight or in the last day? Sally, however, was already causing flooding and other problems along a stretch of the northern Gulf Coast from Apalachicola, Florida, to Gulfport, Mississippi. Even though landfall was still a day away, barges and casino boats tore loose from their moorings, high winds forced bridges to close, and floodwaters made travel difficult in many coastal communities. Evacuations were ordered in parts of Louisiana and Mississippi, and officials in Alabama and Florida urged residents to voluntarily evacuate, especially those living in low-lying areas prone to flooding. This is going to be historic flooding along with historic rainfall. Stacy Stewart, a senior specialist with the National Hurricane Center, told the Associated Press, if people live near rivers, small streams, and creeks, they need to evacuate and go somewhere else. The governors of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama declared states of emergency, and President Donald Trump issued emergency declarations for parts of those states. Florida's governor declared a state of emergency in the panhandle counties of Santa Rosa and Escambia. Wow. I'm feeling a little bit strange, guys, that I... Anyways, let's watch a little bit of this.
Crawling towards the central Gulf Coast at 2 miles an hour, moving to the northwest. We're expecting the main impacts here to be storm surge and rainfall, but we do have wind to be concerned with. Hurricane warning in effect there from the Louisiana-Mississippi state line all the way back into the western Florida panhandle. This storm is crawling. Look at this. By Wednesday evening, still in southern Alabama, expected to maybe make it into South Carolina by Friday. So that means slow movement. That means heavy rain. That'll be significant in a second. Watch out for your storm surge there. Mobile Bay back to Pascagoula, you're looking at 6 to 9 feet of storm surge, 1 to 3 feet along the Appalachia Bay. We do expect heavy rain, 10 to 15 inches Destin, Mobile. Some areas could receive even more, 3 to 5 inches Birmingham, Atlanta, Charlotte. Flash flooding in these areas is likely, so do be prepared.
And there you go. Hope you all could see that. Yeah, so that's crazy. I mean, so I'm usually clued into a lot of, I follow meteorologists and climate change folks all over my social media. That's why I'm so surprised I didn't see any of this, because, I'm getting like kind of climate change news in my feed like all day long. The fact that I didn't even see this in my feed anywhere is like kind of bizarre to me. But anyways, nobody was saying like, how about that hurricane in the Gulf there? Anyways, but there it is. Christian Sorensen says the Atlantic is filled with potential hurricanes at the moment. I don't doubt that. Yes, Antifa goons have rode into the Atlantic and farted in the direction of America, causing hurricanes. It was all their fault. Hold on a second. I want to see if I can find something super. If you guys want to see something super. Oh, I hate these links. Anyways, sorry about that. Hold on. Gonna find it. So Trump said something really incredibly stupid. I mean, something, this is a textbook climate denier talking points, right? So hold on one second. Textbook climate denier talking points, even though he knows damn well that climate change is real. The entire military knows damn well that climate change is real. The entire government knows climate change is real. Everybody in the government understands how bad climate change is. So, for whatever reason, Trump is, well, for whatever reason, Trump is clearly in the pockets of the fossil fuel industry and obviously business as usual paradigm. He says it'll start to get cooler, President Trump claims, as California Secretary for Natural Resources Wade Crawford calls on him to work with the state to combat the effects of climate change. And he says something about science proves this. Hold on, let's see if we can get some audio on this.
We're not going to succeed together protecting Californians. Okay.
It'll start getting cooler. You just watch.
I wish science agreed with you.
Well, I don't think science knows, actually.
So he says it's going to start to get cooler, and he doesn't think science knows. Yeah, that was some straight up bullshit lying right there. Because he knows damn well. He knows damn well. On this, I am certain. Russ Taylor, he's doing the same as he did with COVID, just playing it down so as not to cause a panic, of course. Yes, I think that's part of the game plan, right? And to some extent, the media is complicit in that, right? And not trying to panic people about how bad climate change is, right? They're admitting now, oh, this is climate change, but they're not even going to go in any significant way towards what it is, how bad climate change is, and what it would mean to actually do something about climate change. Poppy Davis, NOAA watching 7 storms in the Atlantic. Guyo Smith says maybe he's hip to the dimming and knows it will get warmer sooner if things crash. Yeah. I mean, on some level, I think that's the play, right? Everybody, the military understands how bad it is. The elites understand how bad it is. Everybody in the government understands how far along we are in the climate change problem or situation. And their whole game plan is to downplay climate change as much as possible in order to keep things going as they need to keep going, right? Because once the populace awakens to the fact or the realization that climate change is as bad as it is and that we're in a really bad way, we're really screwed, people are going to get really pissed off, and that's the end of business as usual, right? Whether it's climate change related or not, business as usual is going to stop sometime soon, but they're trying to keep it going. They got to keep the whole house of cards going for as long as they can. One more thumbs down for an even 6-pack. Okay, right. Anthony Davis Trump. Shoot, I lost your. Trump seems to be gleeful. He is an actor. He thinks science does not know anything. If not, then he really knows little or nothing himself. He knows more than he says he knows. And of course he does. Of course he does. His golf course in Scotland they're building a wall to combat rising seas. So, I mean, there's absolutely no way that a project that he's involved in is building a wall to combat the rising seas in a certain area, right, at one of his resorts. There's no way that they're doing that, and he doesn't understand that's why they're doing that, right? So, he's clearly unapologetic vegan, grand solar, blah, blah, blah. Jacob Gordon, don't care what he's been right about. The guy is a piece of shit. Well, certainly, yeah. But of course. G. Demers, panic is required. Osama number 5, the storms are lined up like jets at Newark Airport. And here we go. Okay, let's move on. The Bobcat fire, this is in my backyard, is ever growing. Even more so than yesterday, if y'all remember. So it's breached like city limits of 3 cities now. Sierra Madre, Monrovia, Duarte. And this is right in my backyard. So this is, not very far from me. I'm here. This is why it's so smoky. Just giving you all an update on that. They haven't really evacuated anybody that's really close to the fires that I know of. I know some friends that live, right below where the fires are happening, and they have not been evacuated yet. So I don't imagine that we'll get evacuated anytime soon, or probably at all. As far as people that are right underneath that fire, they're on standby, I guess. Mount Wilson prepares for the worst as Bobcat fire looms on horizon. So we have an observatory near us called the Mount Wilson Observatory, and apparently the fire is getting close to that. They pushed containment back to October 30th. The Bobcat fire is now threatening the Mount Wilson Observatory, according to a letter from Sam Hale, chairman of the board of trustees for the Mount Wilson Institute. As of Sunday night, the fire has crossed the river at the bottom of the canyon, past Chantry Flats, and is headed rapidly upslope towards Mount Wilson. The fire will probably be upon us today, Hale wrote in a letter on Monday. That's yesterday. As of Monday evening around 5 p.m., Los Angeles County Fire Captain David Dantic couldn't immediately say how close the fire was to the Mount Wilson or the observatory, but said fire crews were working to prevent it from reaching the historic landmark and the communication equipment at its peak. There are a whole bunch of radio and television antennas up there that serve the valley here, or actually the whole Los Angeles area, which helps provide cell service and more to significant swaths of the Los Angeles basin. So that is going on. Let's move on to Zach Labe. This is concerning. The extent of the sea ice in the northernmost portions of the Arctic is currently the lowest ever observed. I mean, if the extent isn't all the way down to the lowest ever, I mean, in which seas, is Arctic ice making up for this lowest extent in virtually every sea in the Arctic? Central Arctic sea ice. So here we are. Fairly below 2012, as in way below. Trying to see if there were some follow-ups to that, but not really. Let us move on. In Greenland, again, dire situation in the Arctic. Climate change. Warmth shatters section of Greenland ice shelf. This is from September 14th. That's yesterday. From BBC News. Spalt Glacier disintegrates. A big chunk of ice is broken away from the Arctic's largest remaining ice shelf in northeast Greenland. Going south, isn't that where you are? Are you in Greenland? Where are you? Are you in Iceland? The ejected section covers about 110 square kilometers. Satellite imagery shows it to have shattered into many small pieces. The loss is further evidence say scientists of the rapid climate changes taking place in Greenland. The atmosphere in the region has warmed by about 3 C since 1980. How about that baseline? How about that baseline, 1980, eh? Said Dr. Jenny Turton. And in 2019 and 2020, it saw record summer temperatures. The polar researcher at Friedrich Alexander University in Germany told BBC News. I can't even pronounce it. Nihavfjorgen, can't even get close to it, is roughly 80 kilometers long by 20 kilometers wide and is the floating front end of the northeast Greenland ice stream, where it flows off the land into the ocean to become buoyant. At its leading edge, the 79 North Glacier splits into two, with a minor offshoot turning directly north. It's this offshoot or tributary called the Spalt Glacier that has now disintegrated. And there you go. That's the image there. The ice feature was already heavily fractured. In 2019, the summer's warmth has been its final undoing. Spalt Glacier has become a flotilla of icebergs. Look closely at the satellite pictures, and the higher air temperatures recorded in the region are obvious from the large number of melt ponds that sit on top of the shelf ice. The presence of such liquid water is often problematic for ice platforms. If it fills crevices, it can help to open them up. The water will push down on the fissures, driving them through the base of the shelf in a process known as hydrofracturing. This will weaken an ice shelf. Oceanographers have also documented warmer sea temperatures, which mean the shelf ice is almost certainly being melted from beneath as well. 79 North became the largest remaining Arctic ice shelf only fairly recently after the Petermann Glacier in northwest Greenland lost a lot of area in 2010 and 2012, explained Professor Jason Box from the Geological Survey of Denmark and Greenland. What makes 79 North so important is the way it's attached to the interior ice sheet. And that means that one day, if the climate warms as we expect, this region will probably become one of the major centers of action for the deglaciation of Greenland. The northwest Greenland ice stream drains about 15% of the interior ice sheet. The stream funnels its ice either down N79 or the glacial member just to the south, Zachariah Istrom. Zachariah has already lost most of its floating ice shelf area. Professor Box said N79 could resist longer because it was penned in right at its forward end by some islands. This lends a degree of stability, but he added the shelf continues to thin, albeit mostly further back along the trunk. That is happening. Again, the ice continues to melt. I don't know how this indicates any kind of cooling or grand solar minimum or climate is always changing, blah bitty blue bow. This pretty much indicates global heating. Global heating. 3C. 3C Arctic rise in temperatures since 1980. Global heating. Let's move on to the story I really wanted to cover today. Hundreds of thousands of migratory birds have been found dead in New Mexico. What is going on? This is from yesterday. Biologists at New Mexico State University are trying to find out why hundreds of thousands of migratory birds have been found dead across the state. Are you concerned yet? The mystery started August 20th with the discovery of a large number of dead birds at the U.S. Army White Sands Missile Range and White Sands National Monument, according to Martha Desmond, a professor at the university's Department of Fish, Wildlife, and Conservation Ecology. What was first believed to be an isolated incident turned out to be a much more serious problem when hundreds more dead birds were found in regions across the state, including Doña Ana County Jimenez Pueblo, Roswell, and Socorro. It's just terrible, Desmond told CNN. The number is in the six figures. Just by looking at the scope of what we're seeing, we know this is a very large event. Hundreds of thousands and maybe even millions of dead birds, and we're looking at the higher end of that. Maybe even millions of dead birds. Dead migratory birds, which include species such as warblers, bluebirds, sparrows, blackbirds, the western wood pewee, and flycatchers are also being found in Colorado, Texas, and Mexico. What do you think is the reason, guys? What's the reason, guys? These dead hold on. Alongside biologists from White Sands Missile Range, Desmond and her team began identifying, cataloging, and examining about 300 dead birds on Saturday to learn more about the condition that they were in when they died. Residents and biologists reported seeing birds acting strangely before they died. Wow. Anthony Davis, birds are the canaries in the coal mine indeed. So, yes, we have Kirsten Strand. I'm quietly freaking out. Yeah. I mean, we have evidence of ongoing planetary collapse, ongoing, massive widespread deaths of all kinds of animals, which is going to impact us eventually. Anton Kreyes says, then all these birds started nesting in houses randomly in my area, according to FB news groups. Okay, interesting. If their GPS is going loco, they die of exhaustion. Black Crow, yeah. Alexi, 5G is not dangerous. Come on, man. Donald McCarthy, fish dying in apocalyptic numbers in China. Really? If you have any links, I'd love to see them. Please drop a link, Donald McCarthy, if you have any links to that. Scott Andrews, I agree with the lack of insects theory. Light pollution is also a problem. Let's finish with this story here, since we have a couple of minutes. It's from Climate State, and this is from, doesn't give an exact state, just says 2020. Oh, September 4th, 2020, excuse me. Massive methane hydrate dissociation discovered near Brazil coast. You don't say. So there are hydrates, methane hydrates, near the Brazilian coast, and it looks like they are being released, possibly. A joint research team from Brazil and France, spearheaded by Professor Marcelo Ketzer and his colleagues from the Linnaeus University, uncovered methane gas leakage from gas hydrate dissociation in the southern hemisphere for the first time. The study authors suggest that the leakage is tied to climate change, more specifically to ocean warming or global heating. Along with the continental margins around the globe, frozen ice-like structures form in sediments called methane hydrates, the largest organic carbon reservoir on the planet. It has been estimated that there are more organic carbon in the form of methane and hydrates than in all fossil fuels combined. Bum, bum, bum. The leakage of methane could lead to a feedback loop in which the ocean warming melts gas hydrates, resulting in the release of methane from the ocean floor into the water. The warmer it gets, the more methane leaks out. See how that works there? While scientists all over the world rush to better understand the complex ocean sediment and climate interactions, this sort of mechanism is believed to have triggered and amplified climate changes in our geological past, and by a lot. Large storage of these hydrates was also detected around 2008 in the East Siberian Arctic Sea. And here, the ocean is also very shallow, raising carbon cycle feedback fears in light of the climate-linked developments in the region. And indeed, researchers recently found that some of the Arctic methane hydrate leaks also reach the sea surface atmosphere interface. The new findings add to our understanding that methane hydrate and its interconnections with our climate is not an isolated process but a global phenomenon. However, the Brazil ebullition quantities of methane so far emanating from the seafloor are consumed in the water column, not directly affecting the atmospheric chemistry. But the researchers could demonstrate that when methane reaches the ocean water, it is dissolved and consumed to a certain extent by microorganisms, which results in the formation of what? Carbon dioxide, right? Because what does methane break down into? Carbon dioxide. It is known that in large quantities, this process can change the chemistry of the oceans. Right, so even if the methane is not reaching the atmosphere, it is increasing the carbon dioxide in the ocean. And the carbon dioxide uptake of the ocean, the hydrate dissociation, and related methane leakage to our oceans is a long-term process that can last for several centuries, and it can lead to a significant amplification of the climate change effects and to changes in the ocean's chemistry, for instance, in the form of further ocean acidification. The next step is to quantify the amounts of methane hydrates in the region. There you go. That is also not good, not very good, not very nice. Hey guys, remember to like, share, and subscribe, and you can support the channel at the links below, PayPal, Patreon, Square. Also, if you'd like to watch the live streams, you can watch the live streams on my Patreon channel. You can subscribe for as little as $1. So hopefully I will see you over there, and thanks so much.